Imagine being completely alone in your home, feeling safe, cozy, maybe even bored. You hear the wind outside, a creaking floorboard, the distant bark of a dog. Everything seems normal, or so you think. Tonight, I want to share with you 3 true stories of home intrusions, terrifying events where ordinary people thought their homes were safe, only to discover that terror could enter through the smallest crack, the tiniest window, even while they were asleep. By the end of this video, you may never look at your own home the same way again. Stay with me and keep your senses sharp. Jessica was a young woman living alone in a modest apartment. Her nights were usually quiet, working late on her laptop, watching shows, or reading. But one night, as she focused on her screen, she felt an unusual chill in her room. At first, she thought it was the air conditioning. Then she heard it, a soft, deliberate creak above her. Her apartment was on the first floor. She lived alone. No one should be upstairs. She tried to dismiss it as her imagination, but the sounds grew clearer, footsteps pacing slowly. And then she heard it, a faint whisper. "Jessica, I'm inside." Her blood ran cold. Panic took over. She bolted to the bathroom, locked herself in, and called 911, shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. Minutes dragged into hours. Every creak, every shadow intensified her terror. When the police arrived, they found the source. A man had entered through a slightly open window and hid in her closet, silently watching her for hours. Jessica later admitted that even after he was gone, she felt his presence in the room, the knowledge that someone had studied her life, her habits, and her movements without her noticing. The fear never fully left her. Mark lived with his wife and 2 children in a peaceful suburban neighborhood. Everything was normal until one night. Their dog started barking urgently downstairs, a sharp, frantic sound. Mark looked toward the kitchen window and froze. A masked figure was climbing through. His mind raced. The figure moved slowly, deliberately, scanning each room. Mark quietly woke his wife and whispered for her to call the police. They stayed still, barely daring to breathe. The intruder wandered through their house, as if testing the family, studying their habits. When sirens finally sounded, the intruder vanished into the darkness, leaving only footprints leading into the forest behind their house. Mark and his family were safe, but the terror lingered. The most chilling thought: the intruder could have attacked at any moment and had chosen not to. That cold, silent control over life and death was far more frightening than any weapon. Sarah lived alone in an older home at the edge of town. One stormy night, lightning flashed across her living room, revealing a shadow that seemed to move. At first, she told herself it was a trick of the light, but her cat hissed at the hallway, hair standing on end. Then she saw it. The shadow was human, crouched behind the sofa, silently watching. The back door, which she had thought was locked, was slightly open. Someone had been inside, hiding, observing her. Her heart raced as she stayed perfectly still, barely breathing, until the police arrived. They later discovered the intruder had been hiding inside her home for nearly an hour, just waiting. The terror of knowing someone had been so close, unseen, in her most personal space, was overwhelming. These stories are real. Ordinary people, ordinary homes, ordinary nights, shattered by fear that came from within the walls they trusted. Every creak, every shadow, every small noise can hide something far more terrifying than we ever imagine. Tonight, check your doors, double-check your windows, and trust your instincts, because sometimes the scariest monsters don't come from outside. They come from inside your own home. If these stories gave you chills, don't just watch in silence. Hit subscribe, tap follow, and share your own terrifying story below. You never know who else might be listening and watching.